Hi there, my name is Simon Benjamin and I'm the CEO of Lighthouse Foundation, and today I'm here to talk to you about foster care and hopefully to give you more information and maybe iron out some misconceptions or myths or things that you have heard about and you're not quite sure about. And we're here just to give you as much information as you can. There's Kirsty, head of our fostering recruitment, is in the comments section, so feel free to type out some questions right now, even as I'm talking, and she'll respond to you as we go. I'd like to start by firstly acknowledging the traditional custodians of the various lands that we're all on and that I'm on, and acknowledging their elders, both past, present, and emerging. So I've got some questions here I'm going to ask myself and respond to, and hopefully they're questions that are in your mind that you'd like the answers to. So firstly, what is foster care? Well, foster care is care if it was you in your home of a child who can't be with their family for a range of different reasons. Often the children are returned to their natural family as soon as possible if that's in their best interests, but sometimes that can't always be the case. So foster care really can vary in length as to how long a child is in care for, and a foster carer is someone like you or myself who has said, look, we want to look after children in our home who can't be with their family, and it can range from a few days to many several years, even for the rest of a child's childhood. And the people who are the ones who generally make the decision for a child to be placed in care, as it's called, is generally the Department for Child Protection, which comes under the Department for Health and Human Services. And very rare occasions it can be the family who choose to place their child in care, but it's more often something where there's the department actually intervened in a family situation. So just to let you know that I myself have been a foster carer and have fostered a child before with my wife and my daughter, and it was a very rewarding experience. And before then I had worked with foster carers for some years, and at Lighthouse we have our own foster care program, which is reasonably new. It's a very innovative model that we're running, providing a lot of wraparound care, but there are also many other fostering agencies in Victoria and across Melbourne, and I'll tell you a bit more about that as we go. So maybe try and iron out some misconceptions with foster care. Firstly, to say there's you don't need any prior training to become a foster carer. It's something that we provide for you if it's something you choose to do. So you don't need any parenting experience. You don't need any qualifications. You don't need to have your own family or have had your own children or have your own children. You don't need to be in a relationship. You can be single or in a relationship. And there's no particular group that are excluded. I've heard before, if you're in a same-sex relationship, then you can't foster. That's not true at all. It's very foster carers are a diverse range of people, from a range of professions or people who aren't in a profession, from a range of backgrounds, both culturally, linguistically. So the only real criteria is that you're age 21 or over, and you have a spare room in your house. That's pretty much it. So there's just those two criteria: you're over 21 and you have a spare room. We have had people who have approached us in our foster care program who've said, I am over 21, I really would like to foster, but currently I don't have a spare room. And they're going through our assessment and training process, and they're willing to move for when a child is available to move into their care. So really that boils it down to you just need to be over 21 and be willing, and that's pretty much it. Now there are different sorts of kind of models of foster care. They generally are the same. Like I mentioned, the one that we've got a lot of comprehensive support around it. And it may be that you come to us with different experiences, and our role is to kind of help you decide if foster care is for you, and also then if it is, then to support you on that journey. I'll just go into more here. So I've gone through the criteria. I've gone through what foster care is. I'll go through probably some stories, and I'll tell a bit about my experience as a foster carer. So when I fostered, we had a young boy who was preschool age, and he had siblings. He came to us just by himself. His siblings were placed with other carers, and which is not uncommon. And we, when he was in our care, facilitated him going to see his siblings, and that can be part of what foster care is about. That the child lives in your home, takes on part of the routines of your household, but you also have to kind of keep them maintained in the school, if they're at school that they're in, or the daycare that they're in, so there's some consistency in their life, and also help them to facilitate access to see their natural family. Now it can be that when a child is placed in care that for whatever reason they've been removed, the department obviously wants to maintain contact with their family, and that can be it can be just arranged in a park. It could be like in a contact centre. Sometimes it may be that the contact needs to be supervised by someone, and that's not something that the foster carer does, but is arranged by the caseworker who kind of manages the case. So there is what's called a care team, which is a team of people who interact with the natural family and interact with you, but you don't have any involvement with the natural birth family. You just have a caseworker that supports you and is there to kind of meet your needs. So when a child is placed in your care, then there's support from the agency. For example, if it was Lighthouse, to provide you with things that you need. So say for example you're taking in a child and you don't have a bed, then we will provide the bed for you, which is funded through us by the department, and whatever things you need to kind of start the placement off, and you're there for their everyday needs, to take them to and from school, and to take them out on activities, and bedtime stories, everything. You're the parent of this child for as long as they're in your care, and going to the doctor or anything like that, you're the parents to look after all those things. Any decisions about the child's longer term, medium to long term thing about which daycare they go to, or other kinds of future things is decided by the case manager. It's not something you need to be concerned about, but you certainly can feed into decisions and things that you're observing, because when a child's in your care for a period of time, you start to become very knowledgeable about things you're experiencing, things that you're witnessing, and so your input is really quite invaluable to whatever decisions need to be made going forward. Again, just a few examples. In foster care, I'll just run through some stories potentially. There could be, say, two boys that are placed in care in a family home. Say they're 8 and 10. It may be that they're placed in your care, and we say to you, look, we believe you'll need to foster them for 4 weeks initially, and obviously it's done in consultation with you. So you kind of we phone you and say, look, we've got these 2 boys. You've said you could take 2 boys into your home. This is their kind of situation. Is it something you think you could do? And then after some thought, you may say, yes, we can take them in, and 4 weeks is fine, and if it goes longer, we can do that. And then they come into your care. You start into your home and routines and everything, and then it may be that the department then get in contact and say, look, we've actually found wider family that can take them, and we want to place them, because it's best always to place them with family. We want to place them with family. So it can be that the placement was scheduled to be for 4 weeks, but it can be shorter. It can be sometimes a week or 2 weeks. Other times the reverse may happen. They'll say that the place was meant to be 4 weeks, and then after comes 3 weeks in, they realise, look, we need to do more work with the family. There's no decisions about what's going to happen. Can they stay longer in your care? And obviously that's your choices to kind of say yes or no. So it can be quite varied in nature, and the reason being is that children, if children are removed from their family, then often what the department will do is they'll look for, firstly, wider family who can take them, uncles, aunties, cousins, whatever. If not, then they'll look for, that's called a kinship placement. If there's not any wider family, then they'll look to people like friends or who know the family. And if there's no one else from those two groups, then they'll go to foster care. And that's where, you know, foster carers are called upon, and like I said, it's something that, you know, different agencies will get a referral to kind of say, we need to place these children in care. Do you have carers that are appropriate? And say if you're a carer with Lighthouse, we'll run through and kind of say, oh, you know, this family have said they can take this, this person said they can take that, and we'll phone and we'll see, you know, who is available. So there's many different situations. There's also different types of foster care. So, you know, as a foster carer, you may say, look, we'll just do respite care, which what that is that say there's a child placed with a foster family on a, you know, permanent long-term basis, and we want to, and the foster family say, look, is there any chance to, you know, say 1 weekend a month or 1 weekend every 2 months, you know, the child could go with another family just for a weekend. So we then have other foster carers that say, look, I just want to do respite. I'll just do, say, 1 weekend, a month or 2 months, and we try and arrange it where this, you know, this one child goes to the same family, so there's consistency and predictability, and that's what respite care is. So it's occasional for, you know, set periods of time to support another foster carer. There's other types of care which is like emergency care, and that can mean that you're happy to take a child at you know, very short notice, and can even mean sometimes during the night. So it can be that you know, children are, you know, removed from a, you know, an unsafe environment and are placed by the department, need to be placed by the department with a family. Can be during the night if that's something you elect to do, and that's obviously done by arrangement. Or, you know, first thing in the morning. But there are stories where, you know, you'll get a phone call and say, look, you know, we've got the children around, we can place them in your place in a couple of hours. And again, if that suits you, then that's something that, you know, foster carers do. Again, you're given support to try and set things up as much as possible. But that's another type of care. And then the other, you know, other type is more long-term care, where you're happy to say, look, we're happy to take a child for, you know, several years if need be. So there's lots of options, and also as a foster carer, you can say, look, we want a child within a certain age range. Some families choose and say, look, our youngest child is, say, 10, and therefore, you know, we prefer to have a child that's, say, 2 years younger than our oldest, our youngest child. So you may have a child that's, say, 8 and younger. It really does, it does kind of vary, and all those things are taken into account. In terms of the procedure to become foster carers, so what it is there's things like this, which is like an information type session. You can then ask questions, which I hope you're doing on the comment section at the moment, or you can get in touch with one of the fostering agencies out there, of which, like I say, Lighthouse is one of them, and just ask, you know, more questions. From there are 2 days of initial training that all foster carers, prospective foster carers, are required to attend. And in those trainings there's several modules that are covered, which really give you a bit of a better understanding as to what's involved in foster care, the types of children you may get, different stories of children who are placed in care, and a bit of understanding about the theory in terms of, you know, children who've suffered abuse or neglect or different sorts of traumas, and how that can look and how that can manifest, and, you know, what you can do as foster carers to start to be aware of those things, and that's something which your caseworker can, you know, help you help talk through and understand those things. Once the 2 days training is complete, again, there's no obligation once you've done that to continue. It really is so that you're informed about what's to expect. So from the 2 days training, if you are willing, you kind of say, yep, we'd like to kind of start the assessment training process, and that can be up to, from making your initial contact saying, look, I'm interested, to actually becoming an accredited foster carer, can take between 3 and 12 months, depending on on yourself, and also, you know, different organisations do it in different time frames. At Lighthouse, we try and do it in about 3 months, but really that depends on you. It might be that you attend the first 2 days training and say, look, we're not quite ready yet, and then you could get in contact 6 months later, or even, you know, a year later, and say, okay, now I'm ready to do the next step. So again, it's really up to you and at your pace, and if it's the right time for you in your circumstances or that of your family. So once you've said, look, we want to do a more thorough, you know, go through the training assessment process, there's an application form that needs filling out where you tell a bit of your life story, what's brought you to, you know, what you've experienced in your life, what's brought you to want to become a foster carer. And there's also 4 home visits from a person who's like a social worker who does an assessment report, and through that there's a whole assessment that's written up that goes to what's called an assessment panel, made up of a number of people, and that panel is really just to kind of make sure that, you know, that if we're going to place a child in your care, that you've got all that you need. And we believe it's going to be right for you and also for the child, whoever that child may be. And so what that happens, once you've gone through that and you're what you call an accredited foster carer, then you're ready to have a child placed with you if you're ready for that. You know, it can be that we have accredited carers that say, look, I'm not ready just yet, I'm accredited, so I need to take a bit of a break. So again, it's very much, you know, when you're available, when it suits your circumstances. And that's a bit of the process. So again, that process can take, say, between 3 and 12 months, depending on you and also, you know, the agency that's doing the assessment for you. There are like standard kind of, you know, working with children, crim checks that need to be done, which is quite standard. That's true of anyone that kind of, you know, has a child in their care, and certainly of all the people who work with children in child protection have gone through those sorts of processes also. In terms of things like reimbursements, so foster carers are reimbursed directly from the department, and the level of reimbursement it depends on the needs and like complexity of the child. It's considered it's not considered a payment, so it's nothing to do with the tax office. It doesn't go on any income tax return or anything like that. It's completely exempt of all those things. And also when you have a child, a foster child, you're available for things like family tax benefits and other those sorts of things. The children are considered like under what's called a guardianship or custody order, so they're, you know, and that's been determined by the courts, and yes, and that can, you know, so that's kind of the legal kind of status that they're under when they're in your care. Now it can be for, as I've kind of mentioned, the longer term decisions about a child really are not in your hands, which as a foster carer can be a bit frustrating, because it might be deemed that, you know, the family may have sorted out whatever situation that needs to be sorted out, and then they can be placed back, and it's something which, you know, you may have developed a bit of an attachment or a bond with this child, and, you know, the decision for them to go is not in your hands. There also can be situations and circumstances where, as a foster carer, your situations may change, or circumstances may change, and you may say, look, we can't continue on. In which case, arrangements can be made for the child to be placed in with another carer if they're not able to return to their family, and that's something that, you know, the organisations are there to support you to make that transition and to, you know, do that if that's the case. So look, that's kind of a bit of an overview. I will try and tell you just a couple more stories, just to kind of give you a bit of a frame as to what foster care can be like. I mean, for example, you may get a call, and you know, there may be two young babies, you know, 2 and 4 potentially, more toddlers actually, not babies, and you may not have, you know, the department even may not have much information about what's happened to them, and, you know, then you might suddenly think, oh goodness, we've got to run down the shop and get, you know, formula and nappies and all these other things, and that can be a bit what it's like if you're willing to take, you know, those children in. then you know, you can scramble around and do those sorts of things. You can make requests and say, look, we're going to need a bit of, to take these children in, I'm going to need a bit of support to do that, and initially some support can be offered if that's going to make it work. I will say, probably should have said this at the beginning, but I'll say it now, there's a shortage of foster carers in generally across Australia, but definitely in Melbourne and in Victoria. And I'll give you some of the indications of the numbers. So in foster care in care in Victoria, there are 10,000 children in care, generally at any one time. In Australia, there are 50,000 children in care, and about half of those are actually in what's called kinship care, like I explained before, which is they're with wider family members. So that accounts for around half. Again, if they can't be with wider family or with friends of family, then they're in foster care. So then the next biggest chunk is in foster care. But there is, like I say, there is a shortage of carers, and typically people that I speak to generally just aren't aware of that there's a need even for foster carers. I've been aware that foster care is. I mean, I myself wasn't something that I knew about growing up. And you know, but some people I know, they had, you know, they were within a foster family, which means that, you know, their family fostered children, so they were aware of it. But there is a real need for foster carers. You're a precious resource if this is something for you. And you know, the impact, you know, that I experienced on, you know, I had a young boy I had in my care. He was meant to be with me for 2 weeks. He ended up being with me for 3 months. You know, we taught him to ride the bike. He had his birthday with us. We made a little party. We got some, you know, children from the street that we knew, and you'll be surprised how the little things can be really important and make such a difference in a young child's life. You know, we had a birthday with, you know, streamers and balloons and different things, and you know, I just heard the next year when he had his birthday, he described exactly what we put on. You know, he was asked, what do you want to do, what do you want for your birthday, and he described the streamers and the balloons that we put out, and we had no concept that he actually made that he'd remembered a year after, because the look on his face, it didn't seem like it was a big thing. Just the little things, the routines, you know, reading them a story at bedtime, just having the same routines. Children really benefit from reliable and predictable routines, because they feel safe in those sorts of kind of structures, and can actually then start to lead you down them. Come on, it's 5 o'clock. We're going to do, you know, it's bedtime. You know, those sorts of things. So you can really make a huge impact in a child's life if you're willing to open up your home, even if you've never done it before. Sometimes just the basic routines. Children just thrive on connection, and so even if you can, you know, open up your home and consider making a difference in a child's life, then, you know, foster care, you know, might be from you. You really can make a huge impact. And you know, like with children aren't always the ones to thank you for, you know, what you've imparted into their life and what you've done for them, but you know, you just know that you are making a difference. And you know, like I've said, you'll be surprised, you know, there even in the, you know, the moorland area, there's hundreds of children, you know, who need care and support, sometimes just for a short time, sometimes for longer. So if you're thinking that you could open up your home, please do give us a call. Give any fostering agency a call. At Lighthouse, we're happy to take your call and you know, see what, just to see if it's from you, because it may be that you may not be a foster carer, but someone you know, and if you get more information about it, you can pass that on. So do please post some comments or questions. If there's anything that I haven't covered, we'd love to hear from you, and to see if this, you know, fostering journey is something for you. So thanks very much for listening. If there's any other questions in follow-up from here, please direct them. Go to our website. It's lighthousefostercare.org.au. So it's lighthousefostercare.org.au. It's all lowercase, one word. And get in touch with Kirsty, who's our head of recruitment, and we look forward to hearing from you. So thank you very much for listening.